Thank you very much. The film, we live in a world where there's a lot of hurts at the moment, and I think this film is in many ways a healing journey as well. I always thought to myself, if there's a place I could go and hide when things get too tough, my little world is the place I wish I could be. So, as far as the film goes, there is no major conflicts like the way you would expect from a feature film, drama and all that stuff. I just wanted a film where everything is perfect, everything is beautiful. And that in a way is a conflict to finding investment fund as well. People are going to say, well, where's the explosion? Where's all that stuff, that excitement? And I'm thinking, well, beautiful thing, pleasant thing can be just as grand, you know. And then they will say, well, but it's boring. But I'm thinking, it's a funny thing where we say, we all wanted to, one day when we pass away from this life, we want to go to a perfect place called heaven. And yet, some people would say to me, well, maybe heaven would be boring. Not for me, though, I don't think. I'd like to kind of touch a little bit about the business side of filmmaking, traditional animation filmmaking in particular. It's something that often we overlook because traditional animation, as we all know, is a very, very lucrative business venture. If it made successful, the amount of return is gigantic, and that's why the studios in Hollywood always wanted to make animated films. The trouble is, it's extremely difficult to make a good traditional animated film, and so many of them put a lot of money into it, but the outcome was just not very attractive, so they lose a lot of money as well. But when they do make money, they make quite a lot. In entertainment, what we're talking about is intellectual property, and the intellectual property is sort of like an elusive one. When I'm making this film, at this moment, I basically pour and out and all that stuff, and we often think of investment into a house. That would be something, a property that we can look at and know that we have in our hand. But if we were to invest in a film, intellectual property, it's sort of like a little vague, that kind of thing. But long as we believe in what we do, I think from my perspective, money never goes first in my life. It's something that I felt compelled to share, something deep within my heart. That goes first, and then I'm sure the money will come in second. The belief of making this film is, while working very hard now, we're building this sort of like intellectual property, and as when it goes to release date, one will never know what kind of return we're going to get. And for animation goes, once done correctly, it has a sort of like an evergreen lifespan for the product, because parents will always want to buy things for children to look at. And my point here is that we should treat our children a lot better than just feed our children with like terrible looking animated films. Many of my upbringing, the way my outlook of life now, is really based a lot on things that I learned when I was little. Fairy tales has a lot to do with the way I come out, in the sense that good always, there will always be that happily ever after somewhere. So basically, I think that's all I have. Questions?
I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait to see this movie, as well as Building Out 52. So congratulations. But the question that I think both of you guys have not answered is, what's the time frame of these movies? When are we looking to see them in the movie theaters, or is it going to be what kind of release are we looking at?
Currently, we are still looking for completion funding. The film is, rough animation is almost finished, so the structure of the film is done. But we still have, we need a bit more to bring the film to color. We actively looking for funding to finish it. It's all pending on if the fund comes today, then it's a year before we finish the film.
have this exact same answer. The film will finish when the funding come in, and for documentary it's a little bit different because you kind of have to wait for the story to develop, and part of the process that I'm going through right now is locating the survivors from the Boeing 52, and that's just thank the Louisa. We found a survivor that lived in the area, and I've been working with him to help him, or to be able to have an interview and have him talk about the experience. But that's been a little bit of difficulty because it was really painful experience for him to go through that. So yeah, funding is key, and you can't really make a film without money. So yeah, that's basically my focus right now, is trying to fundraise for bringing some more money, and at the same time, working with the Vietnamese community, hopefully to bring more story into the project.
Yeah, Mike and Duke, you are welcome to show the trailers at VIF next year. So hopefully, as some of our filmmakers were able to find producers at VIF, then hopefully you guys can find producers too. But I have a question for Mike. What do you think about the Hollywood's animation portrayal of the Asians?
Not very good. If you see Mulan, I think a lot of us may have seen Mulan. I look at that film and I just crunch. The trouble with Hollywood animation filmmaking is that sometimes the management, the executives, are not very sensitive people. That has been the problem for current animation films. A long time ago, Walt Disney was so successful as his films, such as Snow White, Bambi, Pinocchio, because the artists at that particular time was so sensitive human being. Artists today is not the same. It's very mechanical. You go in, you do your work, you go home, and So like Mulan, I look at that and I just go, that looks like, most often the Hollywood portrayal of other culture is like you go into a Hollywood party dressed up in Asian clothing or in South American clothing, but it's still Hollywood people. So